Good evening. Welcome back. Welcome back to video number 3 on the Euro trip. The van is, I'd say the van is done. The van is ready to rock and roll. Didn't come without a few headaches though. Basically, between the last video and today, well, this morning, I actually had. I sort of decided to go around, take all 4 wheels off of the van, and basically like check a few things. Just check things like the brake calipers. Well, not really the calipers, but check the brake pads, the depth. Give the drop links, ball joints, the springs, a bit of a once over. And then spend a bit of time just giving things a bit of a clean, and just sort of cleaning the inner arches, cleaning the suspension, giving the calipers a bit of a wire brush and whatnot. Kind of went round all 4 wheels. That was the front and the back, and that was pretty much my morning. Didn't come without problems though. I found like when I put all of the wheels back on, tightened them up, torqued them up, and then jumped in the van. I was pottering around a supermarket car park and tapped the brakes. Lo and behold, the brake pad warning light came on. So I was a bit sort of unsure as to what was going on there really. So obviously ended up putting off one of the wheels where the brake pad level sensor is on the front. Had another look and discovered there was actually a break in the wiring. So I mean, obviously just did not see that on my first check. I must have disturbed it because it was absolutely fine leading up to that point, and it was probably hanging by a thread. I ended up basically stripping that back, soldering it, heat shrinking it, and then putting a nice big piece of plastic conduit around it, cable tying it to the caliper. So yeah, when I now turn the ignition on, that light no longer comes on. So that's fixed. Today I want to take you round the van and just give you a little show and tell. Let's start with that. So there she is. I wanted to just give you a quick walk around really and just kind of show you it. Start with the outside because we're outside. This is it really. What you see is what you get. When I bought the van, it had a side window in the middle, but it didn't have the slidey opener. It also had a sort of tinted window on the sliding door. That also didn't have an opener. Or what I've been doing is kind of chipping away at the windows over time and kind of fitting basically glass all around the van and kind of making sure that I've got sliding windows either side. What that's really good for is when you're in a hot country or even the UK at times, and it's warm at night, it's nice to have both the sliding windows open. So you kind of get that airflow. Hello. Hiya. Just got attacked then by a dog. The van does have a few little discrepancies. If you look around, you can see the odd sort of like paint scrape and a little bit of rust and things like that. And actually, when you look at it on video, you can see like the lower half of the door is a slightly different colour to the rest of the body. And I mean, it's kind of that very builder's Volkswagen creamy coloured van white. I've got some big plans for the van coming in the near future, but I don't want to give anything away just yet. Obviously, today, went ahead and kind of had all 4 wheels off and checked all of that. So the van is pretty much good to go. In terms of externally, it's obviously got glass all round with openers that I've mentioned. It's got some wind deflectors. It's got some nice front seats. The front seats are from a company called Captain Seat in Melton Mowbray, and yeah, they are Captain Seat by name. These are Captain Seats by nature, so they'll both kind of spin round and give you the give you nice little sort of living quarters, um, which is really good actually for when you've got four of you in the van playing cards and whatnot. The back of the van has obviously vinyl floor. This is well used. You can see it's scratched. You saw in my last video that the van often gets used for lugging building materials and stuff around, because at the end of the day, like, this kind of payload area here is very generous. So yeah, that's why I like the Transporter. It lends itself to everyday use. It's incredibly practical, as well as taking you away camping. Um, got the rock and roll bed. So the rock and roll bed and the captain seats, they all match. They came from the same firm. Just kind of bought both of those at the same time, had them fitted. And yeah, I did initially have a problem with one of the plastic casters. In fact, it was on our first European trip, on our first night. We were sleeping down in Switzerland. We pulled the bed out, and the caster sheared off. But yeah, went straight back to captain's seat. They actually had to take the bed kind of out or lift it up to actually install a new caster. A bit of a design flaw, I suppose, but you physically don't have the space to kind of pull it out otherwise. So yeah, anyway, since then, which was getting on for about 5 years ago now, I haven't had any issues. The bed obviously slides out, and then it's got a hydraulic ram in it, so you can pull this lever here and the bed will slide back in. Yeah, so it's quite slick. It's quite a nice operation for kind of tearing down your camping setup and getting back on the road. I installed the standard downlights. Well, I've got one switch at the moment that does all six, but I've got all of the wiring coming here, and I've got space to put two more switches in. So the plan is to have each set of lights on its own switch, because say if you wake up in the morning and it's dark, autumn winter time, it's nice to just turn this row of lights on, so it's not beaming straight in your face, but you've got a bit of light. That makes a difference. So yeah, that's really like the main kind of lighting. That's all 12 volt, runs off grid. I've got, thanks to my partner who made a nice little mozzie screen, and it is quite literally just like a Velcro strip that runs around the door, door shut, a net that just sticks onto the onto that Velcro, and that just keeps most of the flies and things out. If we come into the van and we'll go to the business end, this is temporary. This is just somewhere to house our kind of tea, hot chocolate, coffee, mugs, and some cutlery and bits and bobs. Those are things that you use quite commonly, like in the morning. Obviously, the kettle as well. This is kind of tethered. It's all a little bit Heath Robinson, but yeah, I mean, it does the job at the moment. And yeah, if we come around here, we can see we've got 240 mains. So obviously, when the van is plugged in, that's all live. So that can obviously run our kettle. We've got a 12 volt socket, which goes into our leisure battery, which I installed. And we've got this nifty little socket, which is USB and auxiliary, and this ties into the stereo. So yeah, you can turn the stereo on here. What's pretty cool is obviously when my partner and I are in bed, we will hook an iPad case into here. So the iPad will hang here, and we'll run an auxiliary down that goes into there, and then we can obviously have our movie sound coming out of our speakers. The speakers are up here on top of the unit, and we control the volume from here, but you get really good sound versus just the little iPad speaker. It's probably worth talking about these units actually. So these units were like the cheapest ones I could find on eBay. I mean, but these were MDF. Bought these off eBay, and then to finish them, I bought a carbon fibre vinyl wrap. And obviously what you can do is wrap over the edge and then use the knock-on trim to kind of finish it, so you get a nice clean line. And yeah, I think it looks quite smart. I mean, these units have been in for the life of the conversion, and yeah, I think the carbon fibre wrap, you know, does the job. Obviously, if we dig a little bit deeper, it is questionable in terms of the finish inside. You know, you've got various little platforms that I literally knocked up just to give us some form of order when it comes to kind of chucking everything in, because we found on our first couple of trips we didn't have any partitioning, and everything was just piled in here, and it was an absolute nightmare. So obviously we'll pack this just before we set off. It's probably worth me showing you inside the main cupboard. We've yet to kind of fully pack this. So yeah, I am storing my leisure power in here, which obviously does take up room, along with other bits, and mainly the food. The pantry, should we call it, goes along there. We've got various like pull-out bits for, you know, washing, bathroom stuff. We cook. We don't obviously have one of those fancy kind of gas or sink hobs. We kind of chose not to really cook in the van. So yeah, we've got obviously little gas stove with the little canisters that we take outside. We obviously store our table here, not when we're sleeping. We'll chuck the table along here. But yeah, that gets used either inside the van or outside the van. I did have obviously one of these rails installed, and I made a table that comes out of there. But yeah, I find this table is just as good and just as easy to store and move around, and you can take it outside. So yeah, obviously the van is finished in a grey carpet. I kind of did the headlining last. You can see it's a slightly different colour grey on video, but in person you can't really tell. It seems to blend in quite nicely. We've gone for little curtains, which yeah, just quick and easy. They do the job. We've got sort of various storage nets. I'll show you some at the back doors. And yeah, this obviously needs a little bit of TLC. Maybe the finish could have been slightly better there. You can really tell the difference between the greys there, because this was done retrospectively after the initial iteration of the first conversion, because I added in some additional windows along the way. Okay, so at the back of the van, open the barn doors, and I've got some more of these storage nets, which work incredibly well. This is obviously a good place to store our camping chairs. I suppose if we had something like a roof box, these could live in that, and then you wouldn't have to take them out every time you wanted to get into the back cupboard. All the stuff under here is probably 50% of the materials and tools and bits that I was showing you in the last video. But yeah, there's some more of the kind of the shelving. I mean, it's not the best finish at all, but obviously when you close the door, you're never going to know. Under the bed, we've got the toolbox, and a bit further up there, we've got the little box of fluids and things, just tucked behind the toolbox. We've got my box of camping electrical hookup stuff. We've got the jack, and the spare parts are nestled nicely under the bed. Literally within the last hour, this has started coming away. So yeah, I think that's more down to me. I've pulled that out. I'm gonna have to fix that. When the bed's pulled out, you know, a lot of the bedding just kind of flops out. The bedding is very much compressed between the bed and the back doors, so it keeps those seats free. When we're asleep at night, I've got one of these little fans, so we can direct it 2-speed onto my partner and I. That really helps for kind of circulating the air, especially when you have the two sliding windows open. Just you want as much airflow as possible to cool it down. So we've got another one of those units because they're super handy, and obviously this van does not have any luxuries like aircon, electric windows. cruise control. It's very much your basic builder's van. So yeah, another set of fans. If you're sitting in traffic, that really helps just to keep the air flowing, keeps it a lot cooler. Yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed this one. As I say, short and sweet, but just gives you an opportunity to see the van in its entirety. I may have hinted on the last video, I can't remember if I edited it in or out, that, and I said earlier I wasn't going to give this away, but the plan is to do the 5.1 facelift on the front. I've actually managed to source some genuine Volkswagen parts to do that. So yeah, that'll be on the radar, and naturally I want to vlog that. I can see me potentially ditching the 16-inch wheels, going up to 18, lower profile tyre, lowering the van a bit, and then sorting out the back, so the back bumper, the number plate surrounds, getting those body colour, and yeah, so yeah, again, hope you've enjoyed the video. Really appreciate you watching. I know these videos haven't had a lot of views, but yeah, just starting out really, and yeah, just kind of wanting to take everyone along the journey, trying to be transparent, and kind of go from there. So yeah, the van is ready for Europe, and I can't wait. I think we'll end up vlogging the actual trip itself. So yeah, stay tuned and go from there. See you later.